Folks, on Friday, we tell you about the story of a young black man shot by police in Kentucky. 22-year-old Desman LaDuke's family says he was experiencing a mental health crisis, and they thought the officer would help him, not shoot him in the chest through a window. Joining us now is Desmond's aunt, Melissa Marks, and her attorney, Sam Aguiar. I'm glad to have both of you here. I am absolutely perplexed here with this story, Melissa, because police say they breached the house and shot him in the house, but the family says he was shot through a window. So I'm not understanding why there are two different stories here.
There are two different stories because they lied.
And is there any body camera footage from these officers? Were they wearing body cameras? Anything along those lines to actually show what they were doing at the time?
Not that they've given us. The only camera footage we have is our own. Our presence there.
Sam, what drives me crazy with these stories is that it's a mental health crisis, and we were told that there were mental health folks who were on the scene. Were the police listening to them? What was the involvement of family? I mean, if you have someone, and then also the statement that we read last week from the family says he was in the house by himself. So who was he a threat to?
Yeah, so Roland, it's like a never-ending story with these things, and there's a lot of things. These police, you know how it works after these shootings, they get really vague, and they try to use these words to, essentially get people to create a narrative that's pro-police. But really, Melissa's here. The whole family ended up being on scene for they say that this is a small town that has a SWAT team for some reason. Why do you need a SWAT team when your whole town's 20,000 people? But what they did is they essentially treated this like it was a hostage negotiation. And so they say they have crisis, people there, but they were treating it like he had a hostage inside. And you're right, there was nobody inside but him. He was not a threat to anybody but himself. This is a wellness check. It turned into, treating him like he was a terrorist. They surrounded the place, formed a perimeter, 9 different officers pointing rifles at the doors. And you got this kid, we got video that shows that when they arrived, he was fine. He was compliant with police that were outside the door, these patrol officers. But by the time the police escalated it, just like we see on the TV right now, they turned it into, a sniper session. They didn't make entry until after they killed him. Well, actually, he survived for 4 hours, but he was down on the ground. And not only that, when police were done investigating, they also left the door wide open for neighbors to walk by and see nothing but a big pile of blood in the place. But they didn't let the family go inside. Melissa had begged to go in, and Desmond would listen to her and her only. But they told her they would literally tackle her, because she was a liability if she tried to make entry to talk to her own child.
Okay, and that's where I'm confused, Melissa. How are you a liability when you're the aunt? It's your nephew. And if you decided, if somebody said to you, well, we don't want to be liable if he hurts you, I'm probably sure you would have said, fine, give me something to sign.
I actually said that, and I said, what are you going to do if I take off running? He said, I promise you, you're going to get hurt.
So did they make any effort to enlist you or other family members? Did they say, hey, we'll put you on the phone with him? Or were y'all completely removed from the situation?
I was the only person that he would speak to, and he was getting irritated because they kept trying to tell me what to say to him. And he told them he only wanted to talk to me. He didn't want to talk to anybody else with me.
Did you ever talk to him?
Yes, several times. And he was getting irritated. He hung up the phone several times because they kept trying to tell me what to say. He was getting irritated because he was like, why are they here with these guns? He was like, why are they pointing these guns at me? He was like, they're going to shoot me. I can't do it to myself, but I know they will.
It's always difficult for us to have to interview family members like yourself after stories like this. and we certainly are paying for your loss. Sam, okay, what's next for the police department? Again, who's investigating? Are they going to release body cam footage? What is the next step? Because that's a huge contradiction for the family to say. First of all, for the cops say we breached the home and then we shot him, but the family said no, you entered the house after you shot him.
Yeah. So I by the grace of God, we had that neighbor that came up with the footage. Who knows what would have happened if we didn't have that? Because initially they tried to basically make the public think, hey, we went inside this home and we got confronted with this guy with a firearm, and obviously that's not what happened. We can see the video right there. Another thing we can see in that video is that literally the individual that was with Melissa and the family the whole time saying, we got plenty of time, we're here for days if we need to be. He was the negotiator. He's standing right by the sniper when the sniper shoots. So, the only way, unfortunately, in these situations in Kentucky, we're a little backwards down here, unfortunately, with these police shootings investigations, because the state police comes in and they basically hold this stuff to their chest instead of letting the public, see things with transparency. So basically, we set up an estate, and typically, unfortunately, these cases result in lawsuits very quickly just so we can get information.
It's just still crazy to me that we would have this conversation. Another wellness check, ends in a fatal tragedy, and people again, they're just trying to reach out to authorities to try to, get control of a loved one, and unfortunately, Melissa and her family has to plan a funeral, and cops just continue, and it's sort of like, okay, well, these things happen. And it is so unfortunate. Melissa, again, our condolences to you and your family for the loss of Desmond. Sam, keep us abreast of what happens next.
Got it. Thank you, Roland.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jason, this is what is continually frustrating. Right now we're in the middle of an election. You got all these people, you got Republicans who are just slamming ads on the air, blasting Democrats about defund the police, and they want to talk. But then when it comes to school shootings, they want to talk about, mental health services, but they also voted against mental health services. And when people are talking about defund the police, they're talking about shifting resources away from law enforcement and being able to hire mental health professionals to deal with cases like this. And we've just had too many case after case after case where somebody is shot and killed by cops. That's how they respond to folks with mental illness.
Exactly. And there's, I think it was troubling in that case, the lack of transparency. It takes us having phones to find out what actually happened.